On the Road with Kelly and Bob is brought to you by Mueller Metal Roofs and Buildings. Made in America, made to last. Coming up on this episode...
Then I found mushrooms, and it was like, I can just go walk in the woods and find ingredients I can cook with.
Hi, we're Kelly
and Bob Phillips, and we're on the perpetual road trip of America's back roads,
where the journey is always the destination.
Thanks for joining us. One thing we have come to know is that you never know where life will take you.
Right. We meet people all the time who had their whole lives planned out until they discovered that that's not the way it works. I mean, lives change on a dime. Doors close, doors open. And it seems like we may not be in charge of all of that.
Nope. Tanner Hammond of Daphne, Alabama is a good example.
I was born here, but my parents divorced pretty young, like so young I can barely remember it. My mom stayed here, and my dad and us moved up to Kansas City, Kansas. We moved around a little bit in between for jobs and stuff, but the majority was Kansas City, Kansas. That was second grade is when I moved there. It was middle of my junior year. I got in trouble, and my dad kicked me out down here to my mom's. So when I moved down here, and I was 15, middle of my junior year, literally right before I got a car. As a kid, I never thought I would like cook or anything. I was kind of like a punk skater kid.
It's not that often that we meet someone who starts out by telling us about the trouble they got into as a kid. But that's exactly what Tanner Hammond did when we visited his home in Daphne, Alabama.
No, it's not like he was committing crimes, more like skipping a class here and there to pursue his love as a skater boy. Still, he ended up moving back to his birthplace to live with his mom, where she got him a job washing dishes. At first, he wasn't too happy about that job.
I moved down here and then got put into the kitchen and fell into like the restaurant lifestyle. Hated it at first, and then once I actually started getting my hands like to cooking and not just washing the dishes, I had a blast with it.
Through a series of unplanned events, Tanner found something he loved, cooking. As one thing led to another, he had an urge to make his own way in the kitchen and started experimenting with unique ingredients.
But it was a walk in the woods that opened a door he didn't even know existed.
So I got into hunting down here because I was smoking meats for fun. And when I got in the woods, I didn't see any deer, but I would came out of the woods with like pictures of 30 different mushrooms. So then I looked at my stepdad and was like, I gotta be able to eat one. And he said, yeah, go buy a book. So went and bought a book and then dug into this wormhole.
Did you not know much about mushrooms before?
I knew nothing about mushrooms. It intrigued me because being a chef, I was like, this is kind of like a niche thing that hasn't really been tapped into yet in the culinary world. And the culinary world's just been around forever. Like pretty much everything has been done already.
Right,
And
but
I found
not
mushrooms
the mushrooms.
and was like, wow, I haven't heard of any of these. And I just dove in. That's our bedroom, but the bedroom next to it was where it all started as a hobby in the spare room.
You're growing them in your house?
Yeah.
When Tanner Hammond offered to show us his operation where he grows mushrooms, we thought we were going to a small farm or a plant somewhere.
He took us to his backyard, which, as it turns out, is a step up from when he used to grow them in the bedroom he shares with his pregnant wife.
I started having some chefs that said, if you keep growing them, we'll buy them. So I was like, okay, and I started doing a few, and then it got where my wife ended up buying like a greenhouse that I put in the inside of that window. Put fans on the window to push the spores out and keep fresh air in there. So,
watch your head.
In this, yeah, it's kind of short, but right here in this front part, it's called the plenum.
These days, Tanner is growing mushrooms inside a building he put together himself.
It seems mushrooms are complicated creatures, or plants, or whatever they are, and the science behind growing them is the difference between rewarding success and devastating defeat.
How are they classified? Are they vegetables or
They're actually in between plants and animals. They're more closely related to us than they are plants.
To
So they
really?
actually
To people?
these are actually breathe like we do. So part of the reason I have the fans back here is they put off CO2, and this will fill up with CO2. And if I don't pull the CO2 back out, then the mushrooms will get really leggy with really small caps and long stems, because you're essentially suffocating them. They need oxygen. So I have to pump the CO2 out and get more fresh air.
just like us?
So if I didn't have the fans and I had a bunch of mushrooms in here and we walked in here and stayed for 30 minutes, we'd get lightheaded because they suck all the oxygen up.
Can we go in here?
Of course, yeah.
Once the door to Tanner's mushroom shed was open, we were amazed at what was inside. Mushrooms like we've never seen before. Every shape, size, and color.
Tell us what the different ones are.
Yeah,
and
okay.
a little bit about each one.
From here to over is all oyster mushrooms. They kind of have like a seafoody flavor to them. The pinks and then the golds are going to be really intense with that flavor. The blue ones and the phoenix ones are going to be a little less intense, but they're going to be a lot meatier of a mushroom. I really like these two out of the oysters. These you kind of pair with certain dishes. These two over here are going to be more your earthy kind of nutty flavors. This one's called a chestnut, and that's more on your earthy. This is really the closest one that I grow to like a store-bought mushroom.
Okay.
And then this one right here is going to be Pia Pina, and it has more of like a sweet nutty flavor, almost like Nutella. Did you guys see this lion's mane one?
Ooh.
So that one you can find in the woods in the wintertime.
Today, Tanner's mushrooms are used by 10 to 12 local chefs and in 3 Piggly Wiggly stores in Alabama. But Tanner claims they have other uses too that could be more important than the pleasure some people get from eating them.
And while the medicinal value of mushrooms is currently hotly debated in the scientific community, Tanner believes these fungi can cure what ails you.
So I make like extracts too, like herbal medicine things with mushrooms. I work with like 6 different kinds of mushrooms now.
What do you do with those?
You take them orally. Like I've dosed my coffee with them every morning. Like before I got into all this, I didn't really know anything about mushrooms, and the only ones I really knew were the ones that, like the buttons and
Yes.
portobellas, that taste like dirt. Now I discovered all these and was like, holy crap, I'm never gonna eat one of these little button mushrooms again.
Tanner Hammond has come a long way from his teen years as a Kansas City skater kid to his life today in Alabama, where he's become a part of the farm-to-table community. He's helped to start the local Gulf Coast Fungi Festival, and he even goes into local schools to teach kids why they should care about where their food comes from.
He's doing something he sees as not only important, but as the right thing to do. And that not only helps to feed his local community, it helps to feed Tanner's soul. And it all started with a walk in the woods.
Farming is something that anyone can really get into somehow. Everybody needs food, and then the nutrients behind it all. When they do these mass farming things, I mean, they're spraying stuff and doing it as fast as they can, as big as they can, and you're losing all the good stuff, all the nutrients. So small local farmers, they're obsessing over what they're doing. Like they have a love and a passion for it. So they're 95% of the time, they're going to be doing it the best way that they possibly can.
When you look back at your life, are you living the dream here?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm so happy right now. Like my wife knows I need the woods. She'll look at me sometimes and be like, you need to get in the woods. I tell people it's like my church. I don't say that God necessarily speaks to you when you're in the woods, but it's just a lot easier to hear him out there.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of On the Road with Kelly and Bob.
There's still so many things that we didn't get to cover in the radio program about mushrooms, so let's continue the conversation with Tanner now.
My generation has been concerned for years that your generation had no interest in farming whatsoever, and we were all, the planet was going to go hungry.
Yeah.
You're saying that ain't so.
I think it's kind of turning around, at least in this area, it's turning around.
Do you think you're making a difference in mushrooms in this area? You think more people are consuming mushrooms?
Yes, big time. I do a lot of stuff, like community stuff. I've talked to just about every single school around here. I've done career days with the schools. I do private homeschooling forages with kids. I love doing any of these classes with kids because they're mind blown when they see these. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh!" and scream about them. I do a lot of classes. I do guided forages. When it's not so hot, we do them like once a month. For I think 2.5 years, I was doing them every other week. I was doing twice a month for like 2.5 years. No matter if it was one person signed up. At one of them, we had like 40 people on one of the forages. And I had to start like drawing a line. I do like 30 people, because even 30 people is a lot to like teach. But I do those. I do growing classes. I've done like some cooking classes. I taught to pretty much every garden club from Pensacola to Laurel, Mississippi. And then last year in October, we started the first Gulf Coast Fungi Festival. And we did Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had lectures and speakers the whole time. We did music the whole time. And then we had like 52 vendors or something. And it was all weekend long. There was like sunrise yoga in the morning. We did guided foraging tours. The first like opening thing Friday night was I did like a 2-hour cooking demonstration, and I cooked like 40 or 50 pounds of mushrooms in front of everybody and talked about it, and then gave everybody samples of them so people could just try a plain sauteed mushroom. Like I was like, I'm not even gonna like make a recipe or do anything. I'm just gonna process these and just cook 40 pounds of mushrooms and have them try them salt and pepper.
And what kind of reaction did you get from people?
They loved it. We had like my whole family came down. Some of my family from Kansas came down and come see it. It was a good time. Me and my wife taught people how to saute a mushroom.
What's your goal for this? Your end goal? I mean, it seems like it just keeps growing.
Do you want it to be bigger, or?
I feel like this is a good opportunity to like foundation for us. It's crazy how like stuff lines up, but like there's possibly a grant thing I could be part of. Basically, build out like shipping containers where farmers can farm out of these containers. There's like certified kitchen where you can process things. A community garden where people that live in apartments that can't garden can come and have a garden box and garden there, and we'll do classes to teach all that stuff. So I think this would be a great foundation to be able to branch out and keep doing other things. And I want to focus on cooking, like just promoting eating healthy. I want to focus on cooking and like preaching to people about thinking about what you're putting in your body. And then sustainability and like preservation is a big thing. This county is one of the biggest like growing counties in the country, I believe. And it is insane in the past 5 years how many like just wooded acreage I've just seen get mowed down. And then they throw up these cookie cutter neighborhood homes, and they leave like 5 trees, and then they come in, and a year later you'll see people planting things, but it's all like crepe myrtles and different things that aren't like a native thing that helps to promote the environment or anything.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me really sad. I've thought about, because a lot of people have asked me what my end goal is on this, and that's made me think about this, talking about the preservation part of stuff. Now that I have like actually kind of have a voice to like talk to people and they'll listen, I just always try and throw little things in about preservation and thinking about what, like doing these foraging things. Really, I've had so many people tell me I changed their life just by walking through the woods, and I'll walk 10 minutes down a trail and I can pull out probably 10 plants and then possibly mushrooms. I can tell you just about every tree that's around you. And they'll be like, I will never walk through the woods the same. Because it teaches you to like look at the little things, foraging. And then you start noticing how many plants are on your little property.
You never know where life will take you, but it seems like Tanner has truly found what he is passionate about. Be sure and tell your friends where they can find us. All you need to do is download that free Odyssey app and listen to On the Road with Kelly and Bob anytime, anywhere.